What's up? What's happening, everybody?
How we
What's
doing?
how are you guys doing? Mark, Ronnie, you guys doing good?
Good, man. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. For those who are watching, welcome to the Real Estate Power Play podcast. We are coming to you on a wonderful Tuesday afternoon and wanted to do some quick highlights and then kind of some cool updates, guys. And I just want to share that with everyone. So if you have questions, bring them on here. We know that's been helpful because we've been getting that's part of our highlights is that we've been getting some of the people that are on here, some of Ronnie's students, some of Mark's people, some of mine. And we've just been answering these questions on the DMs and Messenger and whatnot. So we're here to help you guys grow and grow your business. That's the goal of the Real Estate Power Play podcast. Um, so when you guys run across this stuff, let us know. I'm going to go ahead and share this, make sure that it's all shared out. Um, Today's topic is going to be over real estate investing in general, which is the huge topic. That's what we're doing here. But we wanted to share some of our personal experience of what we're doing right now, what we're seeing in the market, some cool things that's happening both in the commercial space, single family space, and we have a short timeline, short window to do it. So, Mark, what are you seeing right now in real estate, just in general, for those that you're talking to with real estate investing? What is something that you're seeing that's basically one of the top highlights that you're seeing right now in the market? Your mic's muted. There you go.
Yeah. God, depends on what vertical. Residential, we're still seeing a lot of seller financing deals coming in, especially the ones that were going in some of these markets where they've purchased a loan or they took out a VA or an FHA within the last 12 to 24 months, or they put very little money down and they're trying to sell and they can't. They have to come to the table with some capital. We're seeing a lot of that right now, so we're picking those up in seller financing. We are
Cool.
seeing a tight inventory market because people are not selling their homes, because the rates were over 7%, 7.5% now, where they're locked in at 3.5%, so they're not selling. So we're seeing that. And then I'm also seeing in the commercial side, especially in the multifamily, I am starting to see the cap rates kind of move now. People are it's becoming a buyer's market now in the commercial space. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. How about you, Ronnie?
Yeah, I think from the single family side, it's definitely becoming, a little bit tighter on the inventory. But I think what's really happening from my perspective with people and other wholesalers and investors is people are actually pulling back their activity, and so the amount of deals they're doing is dying. I would actually say not so much from the lack of potential sellers, but really from people pulling back their activity because they're nervous and scared. Right, and it's influencing behavior. I just got off a conversation with a guy 3 or 4 hours ago, and I asked him, I was like, "Hey, so are you still doing your consistent marketing every day?" He's like, "Nah, I kind of stopped doing that." And you know, and this is one of the reasons that's creating kind of this cascading effect from different people. I'm seeing the guys who are actually winning and doing deals, they've been consistent or they've doubled down on their activity, right? Those inputs, Gabe, that you like to say, they've really doubled down on those things. And by doubling down, they've created either the same results and or just maybe a little bit more, even though they've had to do more activity. But in hard times, that's kind of what you have to do. You have to do more to get the same. And that's kind of what I'm seeing in the space is there's still those deals out there. But the question is, are you doing the activity? Are you come across as credible? And are you really trying to solve these problems? Because we all have problems during this time. It's just a matter of if we're avoiding them, we're pretending we're not there, we're not willing to ask for help, or we're diving in, solving them, and getting the results. So those are some of the things I'm just encountering on a day-to-day basis with the people I'm talking to, with my sellers specifically, and just really willing to have good conversations around, hey, this is what it looks like to perform on your property. Gabe, what are you seeing?
Man, I'm seeing very similar things. It's cool that you guys said that because right now, and I knew this in the beginning of the season. I remember just a really well-known local realtor, does a lot of volume, came back from a big conference and he goes, "Look, let me just tell you what my higher ups told me to do. They said, you're going to need to do triple the work in this next season. You're going to need to really hustle out." And this is for realtors that are out there, for single family realtors. You're going to need to do triple the work. Don't expect the same returns as you were making before. You're not going to be making these huge numbers that you were and just running. So you're going to have triple the work, less volume as far as cash flow coming in and stuff happening, but that's what it's going to take to make it through this season. So if you have a team of 5, 10, 15 people, you better let them know. And that helped me to get really prepared. And gosh, guys, I am definitely seeing it. The people who have put the work in, all of us, I mean, look at the stuff that's been happening recently for us, has been the result of really preparing for a year of going, this is what's going to happen. You better put the work in now. So it's been very painful for in some areas. In some areas, the results have been really amazing, to be honest with you. Some stuff's coming out of the woodwork that we really weren't anticipating, right? That's coming out. So, um, what do you guys see happening? So that's just one like idea to help out those that are listening. What do you think is a good remedy for some of this stuff like that's coming about? The rates are starting to change a little bit for the cap rates as far as commercial goes, Mark. What's a good remedy that you can say for those who are involved in single family, maybe multifamily commercial, that they could be looking at to help boost their business and help it grow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually been busier, believe it or not, because of my type of strategies. I love it. And then, you're talking about the realtors, I'm starting to work more and more with realtors. Before, a lot of realtors were like, they had so much movement going on. They were kind of almost like order takers, if you will. But now, the ones that are investor friendly, that work with investors, a lot of those guys, especially who I'm working with, they're staying kind of in business versus, the other ones out there just kind of doing the one-offs. Now they're starting to realize like, oh boy, I better stick with investors that are doing business because they keep bringing me more and more deals. So I'm seeing that. So that's kind of working really well. Back to your original question there, Gabe. What was your question that you kind of want to ask there again? What am I seeing and what now? The pricing, or what was your question on that? I'm sorry.
My question was like a remedy for the stuff that you're saying, um, like a remedy for those who are getting involved, maybe the newer people, and what's a remedy towards the market shift, the market adjustments? Because I know you figured out kind of the secret sauce in a lot of things.
Well, I think the newer people coming in have a little bit more of advantage versus people that have been doing this for about 5 years, especially wholesaling. They learn that strategy. That's the mold that they got into, and if they don't know how to shift and how to adapt, where the new people coming in are kind of learning in this type of market, so they kind of have a little bit of an edge if the people are not adapting, and that's what's happening. A lot of people that were doing stuff, the wholesaling during doing assignments during the order taking for them. A lot of those guys are struggling, and they're and like what Ronnie was saying. And I was actually talking to somebody else that she does a lot of assignments, and she said she's seen her deal flow drop off dramatically. And she's shifting her whole model to kind of going towards the mobile home direction on more affordable housing. So you have to kind of learn how to shift. And this is the thing about being a business owner, and not just in real estate, in business in general. You go through cycles. I can't tell you how many cycles I've been through, and you just got to know how to adapt pretty quickly on it. That's really what it comes down to. It's just kind of adapt, see the opportunities, and kind of go for it. And you have to kind of move quickly, otherwise you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, and that's one of the things
And
that
that's
we
one of the
kind of
things
had
that
like a buffer, right? For when COVID really helped like stop everything. It's kind of like that weird buffer. That's how we met. That's all how all of us four met, right? Is based out of COVID. We're going, we need a pivot. So we started getting really creative with all of our transactions. Um, Ronnie, what do you think? What's a good remedy that some of these people could be doing? And with your response, your first response.
Yeah, I think from conversations that I'm having, and even in my own business and real estate, is I agree with Mark. There's an aspect of seeing the opportunity But I think a big part of the opportunity is realizing that the basics of investing in real estate, of wholesaling, are actually kind of that core foundation that we need to build from. We get so caught up in this, strategy or this silver bullet or this new thing, and so we chase these. I'll give you an example. I used to watch And One basketball. You guys know what And One basketball is? Where they do all the tricks and you get so caught up in trying to do like spin the ball around his head and like circle around and what I'm saying, like fake the shot, but you're not actually very good at basketball, right? You're not dribbling, you're not shooting it, you're not getting good at your shot. You're kind of caught up in all these cool moves. And unfortunately, in hard times, and when things shift, when inventory is restricted even further and people are wondering what to do, I feel like people are looking for that next cool move rather than saying, man, let me just get my marketing out every day, right? Let me just reach out to sellers and have conversations and see who's reasonable and willing to sell. Like, let me connect with buyers and see what they're willing to buy today. What am I willing to buy? And who are the contract, right? Like all of these really basic, non-sexy things, I find are overlooked, or people assume they know it, or they don't even ask like a coach like me or you guys, right? They're just wanting to know all these tricks, thinking that's going to save them. And so to answer your question a little bit more directly, Gabe, I think the remedy is, guys, what are you doing to prospect for houses, right? How are you running the numbers today? What are you using for repairs? How are you going to manage the project if you're going to take it down and do a wholesale, or if you're going to take it down and you run into an opportunity that you can do a light flip, right? If you're going to go into that, how are you managing the risk? Like these are like foundational, basic questions that we should be doing looking at deals. And we should be doing that. I should be doing that. I'll talk to myself here. Like I should be doing that double what I'm currently doing, right? I should be looking at more deals. I should be talking to more sellers and not being caught up in, think of how many times I've heard people, take 6 days coming up with a plan and they never even execute that first step, right? Like it's cool to enjoy your plans, but guys, let's enjoy some of those foundational elements for us to win. And I think that's the remedy. I think going back to the basics and just doing the basic things that investors do. And if you switch strategies, that's cool. Like it's awesome to see like the opportunity and switch, but that has a set of basics that you just have to
Everything has basics. That's the crazy part about this. And guys, I think that maybe we should do I don't want to do a back to basics, video, but maybe just kind of hammer in to help out our tribe of people to really go, okay, what do we need to do during different times? No matter what you pivot to, there will always be a set of basics for every strategy, everything you're doing. Mark and I just got done talking about it. Ronnie and I talked about it last week. Mark and I talked about it a little bit last week too. And we were jokingly having conversations, and it was about how we're raising capital. And Mark, you remember this? And we were talking, and I go, why don't we just do our plan? And he's like, that's a good point. Like we have our own plan, guys, that everyone does. And it's basically you do so many outbound phone calls a day towards whatever, so many, like try to contact an attorney, contact a broker, contact a couple lenders. You're spreading it out instead of hammering. What people want to do is go, I'm going to contact a whole bunch of attorneys in one day. I'm going to spend 2 or 3 hours doing it, right? Or I'm going to contact all my buyers or all my brokers or all my stuff in a small amount of time. But what we miss out on is that if there's a deal call coming in, or if there's something that happens in between that you really need to hammer out, you're gonna go, what's more important? Well, the deals that closest to the money. That's what the goal is. Cash, the objects and the tasks that are closest to the money. Great. But then you just missed out on making your 2 or 3 hours of, I need to call attorneys or I need to call realtors. So what we're cracking up, remember that, Mark? Like we're laughing at each other on the phone, just going, while we're voice texting, going, we have a plan. We know what we're doing. Let's just stick to it for the rest of the week. And so he was like, "You're right." So we're going back and forth. And the plan was this: call one or two lenders a day, top lenders. You could call all types of lenders, but if you really want to crush it, call your top lenders. Make sure they're the number ones on the list. If you're seasoned, you should be calling them anyways, right? Like this is something that's going on. So this is something that for all of us to kind of learn is stick to those basics, and it really does work. Do your little bit every day, and it adds up, right? Um, okay, Mark. So we've gone over kind of what we're seeing real quick on the market. We've gone over a couple remedies. What is something that's really interesting that you've been working on that has to do with your creative side? For those who don't know, Mark is one of the leaders of our group that leads to creative financing. And Mark, what are you helping people do the most recently? Is it like sub twos, or is it debt takeover, or is it just simple easy lease options that you've been doing? What's the thing that you're like, this is a big question?
It goes back to, and actually we have a 6:30 call tonight that we're actually recording. We're gonna do some live calls. We're actually calling some sellers that some of the students that I have having struggling. So that's probably where I'm seeing is the people don't know how to convey correctly how to help a seller out through a seller financing strategy. No matter if it's a subject to an agreement for deed, lease option, whatever it may be, it really comes down to listening to the seller and how to tailor around that strategy. But what we're also running into a lot right now, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, is that these realtors are new to creative financing or seller financing strategies. So they don't know how to convey it correctly. We sat there the other day and we had a conversation with a realtor going back and forth, and we said we need this, this, and this so we can kind of figure out the problem. And they came back with information that was nothing that we wanted. And they are asking the same questions over about, are you guys assigning this? We're not assigning it. We kind of explain what we tend to do is like we're helping the seller out, and we have potential buyers that we want to put into property that we put into our program, but they can't go to the typical lender right now. So they go into our program, and our program takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years before they can become home ownership. So that's kind of the thing that we're kind of running into right now is like, trying to educate these people and try to convey it correctly because the communication is breaking down where I'm like, okay, let me get on the phone and let me kind of explain it. So then if the realtor kind of understands it, then they can go out there and educate them and they can bring more properties into us. And one thing, keep in mind is when you call a realtor up and you're talking about a certain specific property, oftentimes the deal that they bring you may be a whole different property if you're doing it correctly through the communication. Whoops, we have some dead air. Ronnie, how about you? Why don't you jump in here?
Yeah, I really like that, Mark. I think that's super key because you know, the conversation is so powerful, right? Like, and I think the right conversation is key to us winning. Is key to us just surviving. When you talk about like what to focus on, I think for me and Gabe, I want to address is, as we're talking about real estate investing as a high level topic, once you know where you want to invest in and you know the strategies that you want to employ, the cool thing with this business is the rest of it is just conversation. I used to joke with people that you can kind of like reach into the air, close your fist, and pull money down into your pocket, right? Business you can really do that with. And but you only do that through conversation, right? And oftentimes conversation that's exploring a problem that someone has, which means they have to be open to share it. Then it's coming up with a solution on the steps to take. And in the midst of that, you've got to be able to present credibility. I was just texting a person at a RIA group that I met the other day, and she had mentioned, she said something like, "Hey, I know this business is like so fast, right? And sometimes I feel like I can't keep up." And I can't remember if she'd done a deal or not. But one of the things that I mentioned is, don't be disillusioned by this need for quickness. It's actually a need for credibility and trust. Because once someone trusts you and there's credibility there, like what you said, Mark, when you're talking about like my lease option program and working with people that we're putting into the property and it's a 3 to 5 year play, there's credibility behind that, right? Here's proof of what we're going to do. And Mr. Seller, here's how it can solve your problems. But they need to be able to trust you. And a lot of that comes through how you're talking to them, what you're saying, the questions you're asking, the speed in which you're talking. Like, are you just a fast talker? Or are you asking questions and really trying to understand? And, that I think is the thing that's not focused on. A lot of times we want to talk about, hey, what market should we go into? What strategy should we do? What area? How are we going to dispo it? And all of that's good. Like, you need that. But how you actually do more deals is that conversation, right? Is how that conversation goes. And so I think that answers on, the thing to really focus on.
Yeah, Gabe's a master at conversations. Gabe, you're always out there on that. How do you go about yours?
That's funny. Thank you so much for the compliment. I think it's a compliment. Look, guys, here's the thing. Everyone's a person, right? Everyone has a couple things. We follow form, family, occupation, recreation, and monetary gain, work, whatever you're doing, money, finances. I got this from doing some type of network marketing years ago, right? This is how conversations start. I just had a conversation with the broker just now. I sent him over my criteria. We had a conversation, and somehow we talked about his kids, his family. He's got a newborn, and we're talking about that. I have no idea. Hey, simple stuff. So it sounds like you're not getting any sleep tonight. That's not hard to say, guys. This is not a hard thing, right? If you have a newborn, odds are you're not sleeping. That's easy. Great. Now they remember me. Cool. Get up before you get off the phone. Hey, hope you get good sleep tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow if you don't have saggy eyes. Ha ha. Get off the phone and we'll move on. All you're doing is establishing rapport so that way the person can remember you. And it's either a couple things. Either you have name recognition from your business, which is really tough to do in single family. Like it costs millions of dollars to do that. Or you have name recognition of who you are, personality. All right. Those are really the two main ones. We do it all the time. Yeah, the tall guy that was in the corner. Yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, the guy that called me that had the newborn baby, or the one who does this, or the guy that lives over there in Boca. He's always sending pictures of the beach and his awesome vacations. Yeah, that's Mark. Okay, cool. Right? I mean, that's kind of how we do it. It's really simple in my mind. And then the idea is you're building a rapport. Now, we talked about working with realtors before, and one of the things I wanted to highlight, and let me know if you guys got off on this or not, or if I'm off on this or not, is the more the market shifts and you want to work with a broker or a realtor or professional or a lawyer, an attorney, the more accountable you need to be and the quicker you have to be in that accountability, in that character. Right. And I've been noticing that a little different. People are starting to say, before they were like, oh, let me know what you'd offer on this thing. They got plenty of other offers. Now they might be saying something different, right? They might be going, hey, look, I really need to come. Like, you got something? Hey, did you come back with an offer? Did you see the photos? Did you see this stuff? Did you see these other things? Even the wholesalers that are local that are blowing up my text message, I'm like, I'll get to the photos. Right? Are you guys starting to see some of that also right now where they're just going? I know Mark gets a ton of JV leads that you go through and you help people go through. Are you starting to see them get a little bit more pushy on like, hey, did you see those photos yet, Mark?
What's so funny about that is absolutely what's happening. And there's this weird, funny tension they're trying to bring to the table. Like, oh, I'm good. But really there's this atmosphere of desperation, right? Where it's like, hey, Ronnie, I think this would really be a good one for you, bro. Like, and it's anyway, it's funny you bring that up. I had actually a situation today, like around 11 this morning that was very similar. And I'm chuckling now because in the moment I was like, dude, this was not how it was like even a year ago, right? It's just completely different. So
no, even 6 months ago, they were not bugging Ronnie, right? They weren't asking you, So Ronnie, what does that look like? That looks like me coming to you. Okay, for those who don't know, and saying, "Hey,
Yes.
Ronnie, I got a deal, right? I think it's going to move. It's a great sale. ARV is this, right? The rehab budget is this. I think it's a good deal, man. This thing, it's going to be really good. And then I got you photos. Look at the Dropbox link. And so we hang up or the text message ends. You say what?
So typically I don't say anything. Typically I just say, thanks, I'll take a look.
Okay.
Right. So it's just very quick. Or I'll get an email. They'll be like, hey, I sent you an email. Can you take a look? So
and then I contact you.
Yeah. Then I take a look at it. And whatever, right? It might be like 4 or 5 hours, and then it's, hey man, did you see that property?
4 or 5 hours, guys.
Yeah.
Right, Mark? Are you seeing the same thing, Mark? Where it's just like, it's no longer like, hey, 24 hours later, you had time, or 48 hours. Or like now they're contacting you, right, Mark? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, but it is. It's like you're getting beat up over the time, and you're like, but at the same time, though, I'm like, stop sending me crap. Hey, it's a good deal. You got to take a look at it. But the deals are still crap. The market has shifted, So if you're sending a deal over, what may have been a deal 12 months ago is no longer a deal to me.
What's the best way you would want me? If I'm a newbie and I want to contact you, what's the best way, Mark? Because I know you guys both get these. What's the best way someone say, listen, this is a number, there's flex on it, but I can use some help. I mean, is that it?
So can I speak to that for a second?
Yeah.
So I actually find, and maybe I'm flipping this a little bit, that the complete newbie is actually someone that I want to talk to, because they're way more open to my feedback, right? And it's like, hey, can we jump on the phone? Can we talk to this? And they're like, oh yeah, let's do that. It's the guys who've been in it the last 2 years, who started 2 years ago, that those are the ones that I'm actually having a hard time having conversations with, because it's like ARV's 220 and they're trying to sell it for 184, and I'm like, dude, there's no room for what? Like, what is that? And it's almost offensive. Does that make sense?
No,
and so it's the lack of willing to have feedback that is actually where I'm just like, it's all good. Mark, are you kind of seeing the same, or?
Yeah, if anybody's listening to this, and this is what I talked about probably 20 minutes ago, like if you've been in this business and you haven't adapted, listen to what we're saying right now, because this is one of the things that we're seeing. You guys want us to buy deals, but the deals are not the deals like they used to be. You have to ship. We're looking at stuff. If the market pulls back, it's a buyer's market. We're getting a ton of deals coming in. If you're bringing a deal to us, make sure it works. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and you're wasting our time. And then after 2 or 3 of those, more deals you send back to me, I'm not even going to look at them anymore. And I'm sure nobody else is either. So you work really hard with a seller. Do it the right way up front. Get the deal where it makes sense. Otherwise, you're going to be spending so much time and energy trying to disposition that, where you can spend that time and energy finding a deal that works, where you're going to make money.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, Mark, you're really good at, right? Is just helping people through that process of the creative side of things, of going, okay, cool, you have something, let's be creative. And I think that there's also this hesitation also, right? Like if I was new, I'm going to go to Mark. There's might be a hesitation of going, well, I don't want Mark to see my deal. And Mark's like, man, I'm in 5 states. I don't have time to like nitpick or backdoor or whatever you want to call it. Like, just like, let's work the deal. Right, Mark?
100%. Yeah, 100%. So somebody's like saying that makes more sense. But I'm sure all you guys are getting the same thing. I'm sure, Gabe, the deals you're getting in, are they realistic deals, or are they just kind of wasting your time and energy? What are you seeing that's coming in the door right now?
I mean, so here's what I've learned through the years is learning how to redirect, right? And part of that is having a bunch of young kids running around the house, redirect them in the right direction. So what you want to do is just redirect. You're redirecting the person you're working with, your counterpart. You may be redirecting the seller, right? And the redirection might be, let me show you what the market's doing right now. This thing was worth 300. no longer worth that. That thing's not selling anytime soon. This is where we are now. And so, and that goes case by case, market by market. We're all going to just preface that to begin with. But I think that redirection, if you're going to work with a professional or you're working with, like for us, we work with a lot of JV leads, right? And that's what all three of us are doing. We do some redirection, we do some education, right? Of going, okay, let me tell you why this doesn't make sense. And you have to template that and you have to say no quick. That's just how it goes, right? So I'm pretty sure Mark and Ronnie all have templates set up now of going, okay, let me just tell you what I'm looking at. I mean, I got one that I just sent earlier of just the commercial assets we're looking for. And I go, this is going to look like a template. I preface it, guys, now, because I don't want people to discredit what I'm doing. I put work into that thing. I'm just sending it to 20 people, right,
Yep.
throughout the day. I don't want you to discredit this, Ronnie, that I just made this, right? And I'm just shooting this over and it goes to everybody. I made it because this is a common question. All right. So don't discredit it because it kind of looks like a template. I get it. This is my criteria. This is where it needs to be at now. The market's kind of adjusted. So does that help out as far as like some ideas that kind of churn?
Oh yeah, I absolutely. I think that us being able to kind of set that standard for that deal, I think is what, and not just us, but and maybe I should step back a little bit. It's actually, you're trying to figure out what are people willing to buy right now, right? As a wholesaler and as a newbie, if you're not going to buy the deal, and a great place to start is what would I be willing to buy? Like, what would I be willing to invest in? One of the things I like to talk about with my students is look at every deal from the perspective of the investor, right? How am I going to make my money, right? When you looked a couple years ago or even a year ago, you could quick flip things and even get above ARV, right? Like you could create margin, and that's why people were buying them, because things were just exploding. Well, now we're asking ourselves as buyers and stuff I invest in, and we're asking ourselves, where's the money to be made? And I think if as a newbie or as an investor, if you can answer that question, where's the money made? And you can say, yo, it's actually worth the potential risk and loss of money. And this is why. Like if you bring that to Mark or to me and you're able to solidly answer that question for yourself, most likely that's going to be something we want to look at. But if you're just like, oh, the ARV is 220 and I'll sell it to you for 185, and you're not actually asking like where can we make money, then you're just going to waste everyone's time. And so that would be my 2 cents there.
That's good. Mark, you want to close us out with some comments here about what we're talking about today?
Yeah, real estate investing overall, I mean, look at statistically, if you're new or even if you've been in it, 90% of millionaires make it through real estate. So even though today's topic, we're talking a little bit about, how shifting and everything, you can still do really, really well. Just listen, learn, network. Mindset is probably one of the biggest things, your mindset. So keep that in mind out of anything, your mindset, no matter what strategy, what you're doing, no matter what business, mindset is one of the big things. And also surrounding yourself with people that are up to your peer levels that you want to be around the equals. So that's kind of probably the number one thing in real estate investing. And then from there, just pick what type of strategy, what type of real estate you want to do, because there's so many different ways of making money in real estate. Find a way that works best for you and find an area that you're passionate about. So other than that, good luck in your journey. Ronnie.
I think that's awesome, man. That's a great capstone. We can make money in all cycles in real estate, right? Real estate is multifaceted. There's multi-asset classes. Within asset classes, there's different strategies. I really liked what you said, man. Find the thing that you are focused on and just focus on it. You know what I'm saying? And let that be the thing that we master. And in that mastery, we'll be able to create that wealth for ourselves over a 2 to 5 to 7 to 10 year period. and we'll be able to raise our net worth and really hit those goals that we're looking for and thrive. So, Mark, I think you nailed it, man. I think it's awesome.
Mark's the man. All right, guys, we're going to hop off. Thank you so much for all your help and for you guys coming in. Comment. Again, this does work because I've had multiple people contact me even after the podcast and text me and go, I'm so glad you guys talked about it. So, guys, if you have other questions for us, contact Mark. Gets all the comments, and then he'll go and help us out where we direct the conversation to whatever you guys need to help your business grow. We'll see you guys next time. See you. Peace.